Hello, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We're All Psychic, and today we have Sumaya back. I am so excited. Just today I said to her, just wrote her a random email. You want to do a podcast? She writes back, of course I do. Something like that. I'm summarizing. I'm speaking for you, Sue. Would you like to say hello?
Hey everybody, hope you're staying cool this summer. It's good to be back again. I'm so happy that she wrote to me today. I'm just hanging out in the air conditioning and doing my art and taking readings, the usual, but staying indoors a lot.
Yeah, I went out to the pool for about 30 minutes and that's about all I could take. But before we begin on our exciting journey through the stars, or at least around one planet, and an astrology area, do you still think we're all psychics, Sumaya?
I think we all have the potential, and some people are more diligent about elevating their frequency and getting to know the higher levels, but we all have the potential. So it's just a matter of who's practicing, who's opening, who's resonating in those places, and, who actually respects and honors those gifts, and then they increase. So I think it's a process. And some people develop over lifetimes. They might start out like a younger soul, but the old souls that I meet are usually very open-minded.
Right. And I like what you said, the honest, well, you said it a certain way, and I'm just like, oh, that's a really good way to put it. Open and honest, or if you're, I don't know what you just said, but I loved how you put it. If you take respect, if you respect the gifts, if you respect the skills, and you have appreciation for them, it really does make a difference. It makes a huge difference. If if I'm like, oh, I'm so happy I have energy work abilities. I'm so happy that I think if I think that way. Whereas when I was younger, if I had those things happen to me, I'm like, shh. But now, I feel like it's like a beautiful thing, like you just said, and that has increased my abilities a lot. It's my favorite thing about myself, probably, that I actually work with the energy. And it's like the thing that makes me happiest in life, Yeah.
Yeah. And you're fulfilling your purpose. When you honor those gifts, they grow. And when you honor those gifts, you actually realize that they were given to you for a reason. A lot of us start out, people who work in this field, they start out sensitive. They have unusual experiences when they're younger. And the older people, the parents or the teachers tell them, no, that's not real, or that doesn't exist, and there's no such thing as ghosts, And then the child is receptive to those kinds of messages that inhibit their growth.
Absolutely.
But if you learn later on that, wow, there are some people who in Tibet who can do really special things just through their breath work, or
just circular breathing. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, the breath work. And they can sit on top of a freezing cold mountain and keep themselves warm. So there are special skills that we have in our potential, which are not acknowledged in Western society as much,
Not at all.
So right. And then, like, for instance, if you stay in tune with your intuition, you will find that guidance will come to you, angels will come to you to show you who your teachers will be and what your work will be. And so don't give up if, your parents and your teacher said, no, you don't have any psychic abilities. Well, yeah, you do. All you have to do is start learning about it and
appreciate it and respect it. I love that. And
exactly.
honor it, like you said. I just love
honor
that so much. And instead of hating
I like the word honor.
I like that word
because
too. I like appreciate. I like honor. You said honor, and I like the appreciate too. Because sometimes I wouldn't be like that when I was younger. I didn't want to be sensitive. I didn't appreciate it. I didn't want to be that way because it was too hard. Because I didn't know what it was. But with like what we do on this podcast is let you guys know what it might be for you. This is happening to you. So, Sumaya, would you like to introduce the topic to the listeners?
Well, yeah. I mean, people who know me, who've had readings with me, know that I do a lot of intuitive work. I do energy readings and aura readings, but I also do astrology readings. And the topic that I thought would be important to bring up today is the fact that the planets, most of the heavy planets, have just changed signs, which
Oh,
is a
yeah.
significant shift in energies for everyone, for the global community, for the solar system community.
Yeah.
That large planets moving into new signs means a shift in energy that lasts several years, depending on which planet we're talking about.
It
And
can be just from like a
yesterday,
couple years to it can be 40, it was like
correct.
30, like a Pluto, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And for instance, so yesterday, Uranus, which is a 7-year transit through a sign, just moved out of Taurus into Gemini.
Woo!
And what is, yeah, bing, bang, boo. That's like a ping pong machine, a pinball machine, like
Uranus
things are
really
lighting
is.
up and the levers are moving back and forth, and that's, I can tell you that I've already experienced this shift, but for the
I have
audience,
two.
I'll give the brief overview. Is that Uranus is the planet of discovery, science, technology, change, right? The big change planet. And Gemini is an air sign, which is also very communicative. It's networking. It's changing your mind, trying new things.
I also think of Gemini as like the eternal student, you know, like as
Yes,
as an archetype.
studies.
They love to be
Yeah, sure.
like life student, you know.
Loves to learn, loves ideas, and loves to share ideas. So that's perfect. Now, imagine that all of your information, your technology, and your inventions get accelerated. So all the changes are happening like day to day to day. We thought technology was moving fast before. It's going to go even faster. And also, it's going to be changeable so that you won't be able to predict what, you can make a plan. All right, I'm going to contact this person. I'm going to buy this product. It's going to come when they said, all the things that we kind of trusted while it was in Taurus, which is an earth sign. We trusted the process. With Gemini, you can't really even trust it because it might change tomorrow. And it's already happened to me like twice in the last 2 days.
Yep.
For instance, I ordered photos. All right. I'm not saying companies or names or anything. I think, okay, it's supposed to be this day, and then it's not this day. And then it's like, we don't know. And maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. And I thought I better cancel it. All right, let me cancel it. No, it showed up. So back and forth. I thought I had it figured out, and it changed like 3 or 4 times in a week, So it's just like that. I mean,
yes.
Getting used to the changeability of our times. However, if you bring that down to the trine that will be with Pluto pretty soon, a couple of degrees,
and
right? Because Pluto is in Aquarius now. It was in Capricorn for like 15 years. And Capricorn and Earth sign, things were kind of steady and, material, and there was a lot of drilling and mining, Yeah. Now that Pluto is in Aquarius, it's also an air sign, which will be trine to Uranus, right? Uranus, Pluto. And what's that going to do?
Well, and Uranus is like isn't Uranus, that one also the ruler of Aquarius? So like yes,
I think so. So yeah, because of the changeability and the sense of humanity of community, right, working together. So Pluto is working on community, right? Because it's going to be there for a long time.
Oh, let's hope so.
But it's going to be heavy transformation, right? Pluto always digs it up first, gets you to go really deep, right? And then it'll emerge with new skills, new knowledge, and new power, new self-empowerment.
Yes.
But we have to go through that cycle. The example that I give my clients when Pluto is in their sign is it's like you want to build a house, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's say you buy an old house and you're like, oh, this is such a nice fixer-upper. We'll just slap a little paint on there and we'll move in. But no, Pluto, if it's in your fourth house or if it's in, somewhere with your finances, it will probably make you gut the basement, tear down the walls, redo the plumbing. And then once you get everything built up, you can put the paint on. So it will be surprising in the sense that your transformation is going to start much deeper than you think, but it will raise you up to a better thing later. So that's the example I give.
That is very interesting because on a personal level, I have a Capricorn moon and a Taurus sun. So on a personal level, this is like from 2008, wasn't that when Pluto went into Capricorn? Am I right about that?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah, and then
around that time, I'd have to look it up. Yeah,
I think it was because that's when my life started. Really, my first divorce happened, and I transitioned into a completely new life. And then when Uranus went into Taurus, I remember reading it was going to happen to Tauruses mainly, very possibly their whole lives would look completely different. And that was in 2018 and 2019. I think it finally just entered the sign fully and stayed there. And I did from 2018. I stopped writing, ghostwriting, and I started this podcast. I started working for Everclear. I got back into the field, and then I started working in a shop in 2019. And 19 is when I started working for Everclear. And then that's when I started the podcast. And then in 2021, I divorced my husband. And then now I'm in a different city. And I don't do any of my other jobs. I just do the psychic readings work and the podcast right now.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get back into doing music again and stuff like that, but with the interest of sound healing, So, I mean, it's really everything changed, every single thing that I had read about from all these different astrologers, different areas of my life that would change. And especially with Pluto and Capricorn and Uranus and Taurus, for me being both those signs, being such personal planets, it like really revolutionized everything I ever thought was going to happen, ever.
Yeah.
It changed how I am, how I behave in the world even, and how I see the world. But those were choices I made,
Yeah.
With the energy.
It changes your perception, right? Yes. You go through the physical changes, but you also have a change of perception of who you are, like what's my real role in the world, and you'll maybe sort through some of your old skills and bring them back to the surface. Like you said, your music is coming back up again, your writing.
Gemini energy,
Yeah, the Gemini energy,
And it is positive with that trine you coming up. That is positive energy of a Gemini being expressed,
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more communications when they, come to meeting points. But it'll be on and off for a couple of years, I think, because, right now Pluto is retrograde. They're going to meet, then it'll move back up, then they'll meet again. So those exact marks of that trine will probably be giving us a chance to reevaluate, all right, I made that decision. Now I'm going to change my mind. No, I want to go back, No, I was right the first time. So I think it's good. There's also going to be probably an awakening of energies in general.
I hope so. I see it too. Everywhere.
Right?
Everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we're all in this soup of energy, or always have been. But there's possibilities that people are going to awaken to maybe they don't want to do so much internet stuff and they want to get more grounded.
Yeah.
or B, they want to come up and show themselves as very awakened souls. I imagine that there'll be children, like a whole generation of children born that will be like super awake, like super.
I agree with you, because they're going to be raised by our generation and my generation X and below. All those generations got more and more into this interest, and now it's very popular.
Mm-hmm.
I think, considering everything in my known history of, other than like spiritualism in the 1800s in America, I don't know. I don't know much of, like, at that time period. It always fascinated me, and comparing it to this one, but they did not have mass communication, a global mass communication, especially what we have, instantaneous global mass communication. We can get our ideas about spirituality across to each other. That's why, like, part of the reason I did this podcast is so I could, meet people, talk about this stuff. And I am, and it's happened because of technology. And I've learned so much, and I hope the listeners do too. And from you, Suma, you're one of the people I've learned the most from. So teach me more. Tell me more.
Well, well, even if it's not raised by the generation that you're speaking of, they will be born with those planets in their charts. So they will have a lifetime of being influenced by those planets in those charts, depending on where they are, right?
Yeah.
And anybody who, I'm just going to say this for your audience, anybody who doesn't know what their chart looks like, you should ask one of us, because we can draw up the chart and give you the interpretations. And your children too, like, it's so powerful for parents to have their. Exactly. You can find out stuff about your child that will happen 5 or 10 years down the road,
Yes.
Like, what are their inherent skills? What would they be good at when they grow up?
And if you're
like
picking
that.
a day to have your baby induced, you can do that too.
That's true. Yeah.
I just thought of it.
Although it's cheating a little bit.
Like, can they do that? I guess so. Like, I don't like how it looks on the second this year. Let's go for the fourth. There's a good trying that day. Yeah. That's funny.
That's an idea. I don't know. I wonder how that would really impact the person's natural birthday in terms of their destiny or their real destiny.
That is there. I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah. But that in numerology. Well, in numerology, you have to have the someone in Serbia said, how would you do that in my language? Anyway, but we use the alphabet, the English alphabet, but with numerology, oh man, I was going to relate that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's basically.
Well,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, in other languages, they have their own numerologies, right?
I gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, because probably in Sanskrit, they've got numbers related to those characters, and Chinese has different characters, and Russian, they
have their own forms.
Have their own system. Like, my sister is also a working psychic, and she uses Russian cards, not regular tarot.
Cool.
She uses the Russian deck, and I have no idea how to read that. That's totally foreign to me.
Love it. If you ever find out what the system is, just let me know. I'd be really curious. I like to look it up. I love new card systems. Cards are my favorite divination tools. So anytime I can learn a new one, I'm like, ooh, let's see what happens. I'm still learning Lenormand. It takes me forever to learn something new, but it's taken like 4 years. I can pretty well do a reading with them now, but I wouldn't want to do it quickly, Oh, but you were saying about getting an astrology chart done, and we were talking about, but with numerology, you can name your baby like looking at the numerology. I want my baby's name to be Ashamarahara. It works really well in the numerology.
It adds up to 3. That's a good one.
I'm so happy and inspired.
Or your the birth date, which is easier to calculate. Say you. But I mean, that's a big question about if you have an induced birth on a certain day, does that interfere with the soul destiny? I wonder about that.
I don't know. And it's interesting because when I would read horoscopes, I never felt like a Taurus. I do relate to some Taurus stuff, but I'm not secure with money or any good at money or anything like that yet.
Mm.
I haven't been yet, but
Mm.
like I really related to Pisces. And I was born 2 months late. So I was supposed to be born a Pisces. And I was born in 2 months late. I
Ah,
was born on April 30th. And my mom found out she was pregnant in June. So, I always was wondering that too from a very early age when I started getting into astrology. Well, why do I feel like I relate to all these Pisces horoscopes and things they say about Pisces in
yeah.
these books and not Taurus? And then I found out my Mars is in Pisces. And once I had learned more about
Okay.
astrology, that made more sense. Like, well, as a child,
Right.
why that would be something that would sound more like what I felt like I was taking action around.
Yeah. Well, I have two thoughts for that. One is, I don't know Vedic astrology, but I noticed that when I had a chart done, everything was off by 1 or 2 months. So
Yes.
they do a different calculation that might help you
I have
to,
had that done,
find a
but
Vedic.
I'm a Gemini for
Yeah.
one, and I'm an Aries for another, and I don't know. It's
Yeah.
really interesting. They all work. All the systems work.
Yeah, they all work to some
So
degree, right?
yeah, right.
And another
Yeah.
way, to look at it is for most of Western astrologers, we go with geocentric, meaning the Earth is the middle of the universe, right? Which it isn't. But you can get a heliocentric chart done, which will set things off a little bit based on the sun being the center of the solar system. So there are different ways to calculate that.
Yeah,
Heliocentric is really interesting.
that is
It's
interesting.
only,
Wow.
hmm
Now tell me a
yeah.
little more about. Is that Vedic or is that just another system?
No, it's just another way to calculate
Nice.
Western astrology based on the sun being at the
Being in the
center rather than
center.
the Earth.
And what is it called again?
Uh-huh.
Heliotropic?
Heliocentric, centric.
Centric. Heliocentric.
Helio is sun, and centric is the middle.
Thank you. I have that on recording, so I know right where to look for it if I forget it. I'm gonna read
Yeah,
about that. That's really
and
fascinating. Thank you for telling me about that.
yeah. I mean, in fact, a lot of astrology software will allow you to switch just
Okay.
by clicking on it, and it'll do the whole
I
calculation.
use astro.com usually. I have an account there and I just do it for myself. I don't do it professionally with that, but I just like look at my friends and family and stuff
Yeah,
like that way. Mainly myself, and I
I
go
have
through the
that.
charts and
Yeah,
stuff to learn.
I have that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
I like
And they have a huge list of kinds of chart systems. They probably have that
charts.
on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been fascinated by that.
Yeah.
It's like wow. So, what
Yeah.
do you expect
I
will
check
happen
in on
for?
that every day.
What do you expect will happen for
Mhm.
you personally? Anything, and you want to spill a little personal info? Nothing too personal. What do you predict to happen in your life
Okay.
with this change coming up?
Well, I think what's going to happen to me is with Uranus going back and forth in my decision making, I'm going to let go of attachments more. And I'm already doing that. Like, I just started putting together a big pile of donations because I felt, sentimental about a lot of things. And
Yeah,
now suddenly I feel like I'm breaking free and I'm letting
yeah.
go of stuff. Like, oh my gosh, like, I'm like, what do I need this for? Oh, a pair of riding chaps. I haven't been on a horse in like 15 years at
I can see
least,
how you
right?
have a hard time letting go of that. I can see that. But
Yeah.
then when
I
it's
mean,
just like you free up so
exactly.
much, when you free up an
Yeah.
object, it
Well,
like frees up like something in your energy too.
in your energy, exactly. And so, like, just as an example, all right, lots of wires, like old telephone wires, like who uses those anymore?
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
making big piles of stuff, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm okay with this now. For some
Good.
reason, I'm like breaking free. Now, I think it's also going to come in through like, I advertise personally for my readings, and I suddenly got a whole influx of callers, but they're not all great. They're not screened like Everclear screens,
Oh,
right?
yes, they
Like
do.
they more or less vet the people before they can get through to you, which is a nice protection that we have
It
being
is.
part of that platform. But on your own, you get every kind of person.
Yes, you
and
do.
it's And I said, you know what? This happened just when Uranus went into Gemini. I'm suddenly getting an influx, and I don't like everybody, but it just shows me that I have to prepare myself. I've been doing this for 30 years. I can handle it, right? I can screen them out. Like,
so you're going to have to like work on your tolerance levels and stuff like that, kind of like flexible with your tolerance levels, maybe, or.
No, I don't think I need to. I don't feel like I want anybody's dark energy,
I understand that. That was
right?
something I thought about doing a podcast with you about. So maybe we can do this some other time, or but I was wanting to talk about like what a reader does to keep their energy from not being drained before, during, and after like a session of reading, a reading or something.
Well, we can do that
would you
right
like to
now.
Come back and do that with me.
Well, we can do it right now.
I don't want to get the listeners would be totally confused if we went on to do another podcast. Like,
really,
they would not. Understand. They would understand. I wouldn't understand.
Okay.
No, I think that's.
Well, I don't think
like to get into.
I don't think we have to go into too much of it. I could just say really simply that every morning and every night and several times during the day, I do light work to clear my energy field.
I do too.
And it's totally a health routine. Like, just like, if you're going to take a shower to clean off dirt, you take a shower of light and you clean off dark energies. So I don't have to go into any more details than that. And that's what helps you to read a person against that light. Like if you keep doing that, it's easier to read other people. And that's. Do you have an
example? What you just said there at the end, I haven't ever tried, but that's a great example. I have other examples, and I think if we did that's a really good teaser, Sumaya. It's a great teaser because we can go down somewhere like different. I've heard a lot of different people on the podcast tell me different techniques they do, and I think Stephanie Dyke, who works for Everclear, said she just pulls it out of her head and then literally flushes it down the toilet. She throws it in the toilet. She pulls the energy out of her head and the memories and all that, puts it in the toilet, and then literally flushes it,
Flush it away. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can make up. There's all kinds of visualizations you can do. I've seen. We don't have to go into it all right now.
Oh, we
but
could.
Just for your audience,
we want to.
We could actually.
No, let's not. Let's leave him. Let's leave him hanging. Let's tease him. Let's tease him with it.
All right, we'll tease him with it. All right, it's energy. It's all about the energy. That's all we have to say.
That's all about. It's all mysterious until it's not, and then it gets even more mysterious. It gets crazy. So, Sumaya, where can the listeners find you, and where can they get a reading from you or learn more about you?
Yeah, they can go to Everclear. Let's first put a shout out for them. Everclear. Who, I've been with them for 3 years now. Yes. And just look me up, everclear.com/Sumaya, one word, Sumaya. I also have a website where people can just look at different pictures and articles and past things and future things. That's at su808.wordpress.com. And I will put that in the description. You want.
I will put that in the description of the podcast with your Everclear link and everything too. I think I've got that stuff, but if I don't, I'll get it from you.
Yeah.
And I do want to thank Everclear, our sponsor, because they are awesome. And they are, if you don't know, listeners and watchers, or there's no watchers, it's kind of like we usually do video. So I just said, watchers. So if there is someone watching psychically, remote viewing in the past, or somehow doing this right now, hey guys, what's up? The spirits are here. They're watching. Everclear is our sponsor, and they are an advice app and website, everclear.com, or it's under Everclear Advice app in the Play Store and in the Apple Store. It's an application. And you can do either way, I think, but you can chat and you can do phone. So I love it there. I'm Lisa Russick on there. And other than that, I think, let's see, Sumaya, do you have any advice for anybody coming into this big change of astrology? And they just landed on this podcast. They're like, maybe the astrology has an answer. And they picked this one for some reason. And they're like, okay, so what they're kind of like afraid because things have been changing rapidly, maybe, and they don't like changes. it's happening really fast. Like, well, it's just in 2 days, what would you advise them to not be like too afraid of what's coming, if they don't like changes too much?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the first thing is get grounded and stay centered, because it's just like on a boat. You can't lean too far in any direction. You're going to look down, oh, what's in the water? Let me lean over the edge. And now you're in the water, right? So
Absolutely.
Centered, right? Centered
Yes.
and grounded as often as possible. I think just walking out in nature and being in tune with the earth is just a really helpful grounding technique. And you know what? If you're really interested in the changes in your life, get a reading, get an astrology chart done, and and find out what is, what are you not knowing, or what do you need to know, or what guidance can you get that will be worthwhile for the long run.
Yeah, you can find out so much about yourself through astrology. It has a really good way of explaining who and where you're coming from, where you've been. If you look at it that way, it gives us words for it to relate in a different way about our experiences. It's really compassionate too, I think. It has a reason for everything that happens to us, That's why I like astrology. Exactly. And I guess lastly, thank you so much, Sue Maya. I always love when you come on the show, and we will have to record the next one. Maybe tomorrow if you're not busy.
I don't know. Maybe in a couple of weeks.
Okay, a couple weeks is perfect.
Because we've spread it out, like
make them really wait for it. I like that. Yeah, wait. I love it. That's perfect.
Or let people absorb the energy.
I love that idea. Perfect. And lastly, I want to say, listeners, and I love you. And Sumaya, do you love the listeners?
I love everything.
Oh, she loves everything. I thought you said you hate some people. You don't like all people.
No,
you don't like all people.
I can't say I hate them. I can just say that I discern.
No, I don't hate all people either. I don't hate anybody either, but I try to love everybody. I do. I try to start that way anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just
not
joking.
Everybody
I do enjoy myself.
Yeah. I don't resonate with everybody, but I love life and I love the earth.
I love the earth.
And everyone is a part of it. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I don't feel like I am sometimes, but I am, whether, I feel like it or not. So thank you so much, Sumaya, again. Thank you, listeners, for watching or listening. And peace out. Goodbye.
Be safe. Bye.